On this question, I can easily explain with example.
Scratch Orgs don't just solve technical problems, they also drive real business value.
Also, it reduces delays and faster feature rollout, and of course, better code quality.
Let's be honest, are there any downsides of using Scratch Orgs?
It will cause extra bugs, extra communication, and extra management time from project manager or team lead that we need to solve issue that actually not an issue.
Welcome to another episode of Pro Salesforce Podcast. I'm your host Sergii, a Salesforce Consultant here at Synebo. In today's episode, we're talking about teamwork and transparency in Salesforce development teams. We will look at how using Salesforce Scratch Orgs can help your team work better together and make your development process smoother. My guest today is Oleksandr, Salesforce Developer and Team Lead at Synebo. Hi Oleksandr, nice to meet you.
Hi Sergey, nice to meet you too.
Before we start, could you please tell us about your background in Salesforce development?
Sure. I started my Salesforce development career 6 years ago with the Synebo Salesforce Developer courses, which laid the groundwork for my expertise. And after that, I worked on large-scale projects as a developer, progressed to a project lead, and currently continue my work as a team lead, creating impactful solution and leading teams.
Thank you. And today we're discussing how Salesforce Scratch Orgs can improve teamwork and transparency in your development process. We will explore how these tools help your team collaborate more effectively and keep everyone on the same page. Let's start with the common pain points in Salesforce projects for consulting firms. How do delays in environment setup impact the timeline of Salesforce projects in consulting firms?
Obviously, delays in environment setup can significantly impact on a project timelines by postponing the start of development and testing phases. This can lead to idle resources and often affect the project milestones, potentially leading to missed deadlines and delays of solution delivery.
What are the common challenges developers face when multiple people are working on the same Salesforce org?
Oh, I believe that without exaggeration, the biggest challenge for developers working on a single org is to not overwrite each other's code. It's actually the most important here to keep the code changes synchronized with the code of your colleagues, because actually this is like fixing Git branches conflicts with every small changes, what you need to do and test on this shared org.
And how can using shared environments increase the risk of conflicts during feature testing? And what are potential consequences?
On this question, I can easily explain with example. With example situation, let's assume that QA is testing some feature on the org, and in parallel, developer is writing unit test, let's assume for some trigger. And during the changes in test and testing trigger, developer did some changes. In this moment, QA did some testing, and he get exception that for developer is okay, but QA didn't expect. It will cause extra bugs, extra communication, and extra management time from project manager or team lead that we need to solve issue that actually not an issue. This is one simple example that can cause when many people are working on one shared org.
Yeah, and like after all, everyone is doing a double job.
Or maybe
Yeah,
even triple.
yeah. All right, and now that we just discussed some common challenges, let's look at the solution, the Scratch Orgs. Could you please tell us more about Scratch Orgs?
Sure. Scratch org is actually something similar to Sandboxes, as we already know, but it's something different in organization in Salesforce that allow us to create some temporary Salesforce environment that can be created much more quickly than Sandbox, and we can include some more features than we can have in Sandbox. So as we know, Sandbox is being created from production, but Scratch Orgs we're creating from DevHub, where we can include some features, some additional settings, some additional licenses. And also, we can have much more Scratch Orgs in parallel than Sandboxes. At the moment, we can have 80 active Scratch Orgs in parallel. So actually, you can have team of 80 developers. They can work parallelly and develop your tasks, writing unit tests, and even testing something, not overriding code of each other.
All right. Now let's discuss how Scratch Orgs can improve the project process. I mean, from the perspective of managers and project stakeholders. Scratch Orgs are all about enabling efficient teamwork, right?
Yes, of course. As we already told about the parallel work between team members, we can also give some example like Scratch Org is isolated environments, and even one developer can split his work between a few tasks. For example, one developer wrote a feature, and at the same moment we have some hotfix, and developer will just create quickly this Scratch Org, and he will simulate the situation of the bug and will quickly implement this hotfix on one separate org, not breaking his progress on the org with his feature development. This is one good benefit of Scratch orgs. And also, it will create a smoother collaboration between developers, so as they will not have a bottleneck of the one shared org, and they will work parallelly, just merging their code progress on a Git. Another benefit that Scratch org give a huge help for App Exchange managed package development and making prototyping and testing faster and more efficient. Also, it reduces delays and faster feature rollout, and of course, better code quality. Like nobody will override code of each other and less conflicts will be created there.
Sounds fantastic, but now let's look about it from a business outcome perspective.
Scratch orgs contribute to faster delivery time, and it's shaving off 1 or 2 days per development cycle, which adds up over time. They also lower the risk of breaking existing system thanks for their isolated environments. And when it's time to test the new features, creating proof of concept environments with Scratch orgs makes it easier to validate ideas and deliver predictable features.
So Scratch Orgs don't just solve technical problems, they also drive real business value by making projects more efficient and
Exactly.
reliable. Okay, now let's talk about the practical use cases of Scratch Orgs for consulting companies. They offer real, tangible benefits that address common challenges in day-to-day projects. Um, the first use case would be we already discussed the testing, but the testing a new feature for a client before launch.
Yes,
So could you provide some
of
some
course.
details here?
Here we have benefit like Scratch orgs are being quickly created for validating a new feature or critical configuration without touching existing environments. So if something doesn't work as planned, you can simply delete the Scratch org and start fresh one. This makes it ideal for creating proof of concept with minimizing risks and time.
Mhm. And like from my perspective and my like admin background, I could say that the time for creation and the time for refresh can be very crucial because it's okay when you create the developer sandbox. It can take sometimes up to 30 minutes, up to 1 hour. But if you're creating a partial sandbox or full sandbox, it can take a day, and like it's your time that you could spend on the development. So yeah, I think it's a super helpful. The next use case would be like the demo of the prototype to secure client buy-in?
Right. Using Scratch Org to spin up tailored environments for client demos. So actually, this allows you to showcase solution aligned with their business needs, making it easier to secure their buy-in and build trust.
The next use case, we already discussed it, but maybe you can sum it up. The support of the parallel development.
Sure. Tasks can be split between multiple developers, each working on their own Scratch org, and avoiding conflicts on shared org. Developers can write and test their code in isolated, and once validated, move feature to a sandbox for further manual testing.
And the last but not least, the building managed packages.
I guess Scratchworks was developed specifically for that. For App Exchange managed packages, Scratchworks are especially helpful because with namespace management and easy task division, they simplify development process, make it more efficient and team friendly.
So these use cases highlight how Scratchworks are practical tools that help consulting companies work smarter and deliver better results. And now that we have covered the benefits and use cases, let's talk about how you can start incorporating Scratchworks into your development process.
First, sure. First, ensure your team is familiar with Salesforce CLI. It's a key tool for creating and managing Scratchworks. If your team is new to it, it's good to invest time in training. Second, I would say make Scratchwork part of your project workflow. For example, use them during sprint planning to give developers dedicated environments for their tasks.
Mhm. So you mean like in your not use Scratchworks for some specific projects, but use it in your daily work for each task, yeah?
Of course, planning and decompositing your epics and stories on small tasks. You can plan in advance where this task will be developed, on which environment, and by which developer exactly.
Hmm. Great. What is the next one?
Uh, I guess the most important, based on practice, what we have, it's to automate process where it's possible. You can set up scripts to create Scratchworks with predefined settings, so developers can just hit the ground running, and Scratchwork with all necessary settings, records, and users will be created in a short time. And finally, document all your best practices. Share all tips and workflows with developers so everyone on the team get the most out of Scratchworks.
Hmm. So you're talking about some internal documentation in the consulting company, in your specific development team. Um, like for example, in my team, we also it's a different perspective. I had an admin team, but we also documented all our best practices. Sometimes it's not obvious where you can find a specific article to solve some issue, and if one of the team members already faced this issue or not even the issue, just daily common tasks like creating scratch orgs. If you have some internal documentation, it really could benefit you. And by embedding scratch orgs into your process, you can make development faster, smoother, and more predictable. What are the common mistakes teams make when first adopting scratch orgs, and how they can avoid them?
Oh, it's a very good question. Based on the practice, when you just set up a new project and you are planning that in this project you will use Scratchworks, uh, I get the common mistake when everybody will use their own configuration for this Scratchwork creation. And to avoid this, it's actually a team lead or tech lead on the project should plan which exactly the features will be used in this project, which licenses and which settings for Scratchworks you need to have in your configuration for this org. Once you know all this, you can create one configuration file And after that, you also can plan which data should be created in the Scratch org once it's created and configured for the development, and write scripts for that. Once you include this algorithm into one place, you will make a very effective org creation that you will just hit on a button and deliver the org to developer where they can start to do their job.
Do you recommend any specific tools or frameworks to complement the use of Scratch Orgs in development workflow?
Yes, based on the practice, it's very useful when you have a CI/CD on your control version system. Using the algorithm for Scratch org creation and this CI/CD on your control version system, you can just hit on a button and automatically create a Scratch org and just receive on the email a credentials uh, that you will share with your developers, and they will already start working on this. So nobody will care about how Scratch org should be created because this will be done by CI/CD and some automated script for that.
Can Scratch Orgs help when onboarding new developers onto a project?
Of course, so as it's very quickly to create a Scratch org, so you can limitate some users, and you can give developer exactly the org where he can do whatever he want, and it will not affect any of existing orgs, any of existing users, customer data. So developer can play and do simulate any situations that he can predict or he can imagine related to the project based on requirements of the project what you gave to him. It will really help for onboarding so as the developer can touch everything related to the code, even flow, triggers, and user experience. So this org is fully isolated and will not affect any real customer data.
So it's minimize or even limit the risk of the human error.
Of course, and this org will be created or recreated if new developer will break something. This org will be recreated in 30 minutes, and he will continue playing, and he already will know what he can do and what better to not do.
So based on all the benefits of Scratch Orgs that we just discussed, is there really a need of using sandboxes?
Sure. What we are talking about the Scratch orgs, it's not canceling the sandbox in our development process. Actually, the sandbox it's a much more stable org. For example, like partial org or developer pro edition. It has much more bigger limits, daily limits, much more bigger database. So actually, it will much more helpful for manual testing. So QA will not need to create Scratch org every time for this. They will just receive a new data, and it will be simulation of real customer case when they have some production org. You are delivering some patch or you're delivering some new package for their org. They installing this package and they continue working with their database of their business using this their data, and they will see how exactly this package will impact on their customer data, on their business, will it stuck, or they will really improve with this new patch. So in general, sandboxes is still needed, but for developers, they have option to choose between Scratch orgs and sandboxes.
So when you need to test a feature, but not in the isolated environment, but in the environment that close to the real one, close to the production, it's definitely a sandbox, partial or full. And I assume also when you need to conduct the UAT, the users acceptance testing, it definitely should be done in full sandbox.
One important thing about the Scratch orgs that term of living of these Scratch orgs is from 1 to 30 days. And Sandbox is long-term work when you don't need to create a new one after 30 days and restore all your data if you had some issue, or for example, you had some progress database, you don't need to restore it in 30 days. So it will Sandboxes more simplify QA testing. Scratch Orgs more simplify the short-term development.
All works together. So you developed a feature in Scratch Org. You did like initial tests. You like made sure that the feature is working, and then you move it to the sandbox and continue the QA process and etc. Right?
Yes, correct. So actually, the development, especially the unit testing, can be done on a Scratch org. So as a developer will work on some org, will write the unit tests. So nobody will use his Scratch org for anything. But Sandbox can be used for QA testing, for some another stuff like deployment to another sandboxes or deployment to production org. And sandboxes will be used by people to test some UI UX features. And in parallel, developers will work on some code-based stuff that will not require any specific licenses, any specific records on a sandbox or on the UI. They will be fully isolated on code area on their Scratch org.
All right. Let's be honest. Are there any downsides of using Scratch Orgs?
Sure, exactly like everything. It's not without the bugs. From the all issues that we have on a Scratch org, I can remember one that is reasonable at the same time tricky. It's actually the system admin user that was created together with a Scratch org. So this user is created automatically. This user cannot send emails. So if you have some feature that should send email, it will work fine. You will not have any exceptions, but the email will not be delivered to the destination. It's a very funny moment that for that to test email sending on Scratch orgs, you need to create separate user, login from that user, and only after that, all this email sending mechanism will work for you.
Yeah, it's really
Yes.
tricky. Could you tell us about your recent like real life use case of using Scratch Orgs?
Yes, I have three projects where we're using a Scratch orgs on full power and very actively using with my team. Uh, One project it's usual enterprise development where we have enterprise org and sandboxes. In parallel, we started using Scratch orgs that actually improved our team collaboration, that somebody can write isolated unit tests, somebody can test on sandboxes, and we don't need to have uh, many sandboxes with a lot of data. It's enough to have one partial that is being refreshed not so a lot, and few developer sandboxes for QA testing before deploying to partial. And other one we're trying to develop on Scratch orgs that is successfully helping us to not be dependent on sandbox creation, to managing a lot of sandboxes, communication with team, like who has some progress on this org, please keep your code, we will refresh it. No, everybody is responsible for his own Scratch org. If it's already not needed, they are deleting this and creating a new one. And another two projects is related to managed package development for App Exchange. And actually, this is really helpful. So as this managed packages, they are being created on one developer edition with specific namespace. And to share development between at least 2-3 people, it's not possible. So as it's only possible on the org with this namespace. So as code is written specifically using these parameters of managed package. Here at Scratchworks are very helpful. So as we can create a fully identical 3, 4, 5 orgs where developers can do fully the same that they would do on this one developer edition where we're creating managed package. As we discussed before, so yes, we are writing the code on Scratchworks. We are testing this feature locally. And after that, we are combining all progress from full team, delivering this to this developer edition, and doing a final testing on this single org after all development and unit testing already was done on Scratch org.
Wow, it sounds that you are using the full potential of Scratch Orgs as it was designed for. Okay, now let's wrap up with a quick recap of why Scratch Orgs are such a valuable tool for both developers and managers. For developers, Scratch Orgs speed up development and allow for parallel work and reduce the risks of conflicts. For managers, they improve collaboration, streamline team efficiency, and cut down on costly rework by enabling better testing. And for clients, Scratchworks make it easier to showcase prototypes and demos, leading to smoother client interactions and quicker buy-in.
Scratchwork help you deliver faster features with higher quality and lower cost. They are a win for everyone involved in Salesforce projects.
Amazing. Thank you, Oleksandr, for participating. Thanks to our listeners for tuning into today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to ensure you won't miss any future insights. See you in the next episode.